Across the galaxy, holographic screens suddenly flared to life, casting a cold, blue glow over millions of faces. For a brief moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath, all attention focused on a single message from the Galactic Empire. In lavish palaces, nobles dressed in opulent attire paused their revelries. In the frigid mines of the asteroid belt, dust-covered workers stopped their labor, their anxious eyes fixed on the glowing screens. Attendance was not merely mandated, it was symbolic, a chilling reminder of the Empire's absolute authority. At the heart of the capital planet's arena, 50,000 humans stood bound in tight rows. They did not scream or beg. They stood silently, resolutely. Their faces, though weary, bore an indomitable flame that refused to be extinguished. Above them, dozens of imperial warships hovered, their oppressive presence suffocating the air. On a raised podium, a high-ranking Empire official, clad in resplendent ceremonial armor, thundered. "This is a lesson to those who dare defy the order we have bestowed. Humanity has challenged our greatness. Today, they will pay the price." His voice echoed not just within the arena but across the galaxy. Millions of beings, from those who revered the Empire to those who secretly opposed it, heard every word distinctly. The crowd in the arena erupted into cheers and jeers that reverberated through the space. Loyalists from various species shouted as though they had personally achieved a great triumph. However, among them, certain eyes turned away, certain faces lowered, unwilling to witness the impending atrocity. In hidden corners, a few individuals struggled to suppress their horror. A young Sarn family, a species known for heightened emotions, clung to one another, trembling and choking back sobs. In the VIP section, an aging official from a dependent planet feigned indifference, though his hand trembled as he raised a glass of wine. On Earth, the arena's broadcast played everywhere, on public squares, in schools, and military barracks. Children clung to their parents, tears welling up as they watched their kin being mistreated. Soldiers clenched their fists, their silent rage boiling over but held in check by necessity. A middle-aged woman, her sun-darkened face etched with hardship, stood before a giant screen in New Tokyo's central square and shouted, "Don't kneel. Don't let them think we're weak." Her words were like a spark, igniting a fire among the people who had been suppressing their grief and anger. As the Empire official concluded his speech, a fleet of heavy drones was deployed, their weapons primed for mass execution. But what stunned everyone was the response of the captives. They did not cry or plead. Instead, a few began to sing. The song was an ancient Earth melody, evoking memories of humanity's struggles to survive against harsh natural forces. Its haunting strains echoed through the arena, rising above the drone engines and the crowd's shouts. One by one, the others joined in, creating a chorus that the galaxy would never forget. The official's expression faltered. He barked orders to expedite the execution, but the fire in humanity's eyes had already left its mark. The crowd fell silent. This silence was not born of fear but of a strange mix of respect and unease. After the broadcast, the Empire's upper echelons gathered to analyze what had transpired. "Humans are dangerous," an elderly general remarked. "Even when facing death, they can inspire others. This is no ordinary resistance. This is the seed of rebellion." Meanwhile, on other planets, oppressed beings began to circulate recordings of the execution. Clips of the song became a symbol of defiance. On Uter, a mining planet, laborers began singing the melody while enduring beatings from overseers. On Earth, underground leaders called for preparations for all-out war. The execution was not merely a display of oppression. It inadvertently became a catalyst for awakening. The Empire's brutality exposed their ignorance of humanity's spiritual strength. Small flames had been lit, and soon, they would grow into a raging inferno. In the main chamber of the United Earth Council, the light from strategic displays illuminated the tense faces of its leaders. President Illyra Hayes, her graying hair framing a resolute face, surveyed the room filled with top military, political, and scientific advisors. On the central screen, footage of the Empire's execution still played, each frame a dagger to humanity's pride. They've crossed the line. We cannot stand by any longer, she declared, her voice firm but tinged with anguish. As soon as she finished, the room erupted into a cacophony of conflicting opinions. We cannot win against the Empire. Their forces far surpass ours in numbers and technology, protested Foreign Minister Adrian Voss, sweat glistening on his brow. If we retaliate, they'll destroy Earth. So, you'd have us grovel forever, snapped Captain Lena Solis, commander of the Marine Corps, rising to her feet. We may not be as strong as they are, but we're not so weak as to let them torture us without a fight. Admiral Tiberius Khan, a battle-hardened veteran of galactic skirmishes, spoke in a steady voice, the Empire doesn't see us as a threat. That's our greatest advantage. If we act quickly and strike their weak points, we can make them pay. Military advisors unveiled a strategic map, highlighting the Empire's key installations, particularly a major broadcast station on Hades II, a planet critical to the Empire's communication and propaganda network. If we destroy the station, Lena pointed to the holographic target, we won't just sever their communications, we'll send a message that humanity cannot be subdued. A military engineer added, however, to strike Hades II, we must bypass fleets of warships and advanced defense systems. We'll need a small, swift, and stealthy strike force. That's a suicide mission, another advisor muttered. Are we sure it's worth the risk? Illyra Hayes, who had been quietly observing, raised her voice with determination. What the Empire did yesterday wasn't just oppression. It was a declaration of war. If we don't respond, we'll lose who we are. Admiral Khan nodded in agreement. We've lived under the Empire's shadow for too long. Now is the time to ignite the flame of resistance. Finally, President Hayes made her decision. We will strike. Lena, your mission is to lead the task force. We don't have to win outright, but we must prove that humanity is unafraid. Lena nodded, her eyes blazing with resolve. At the hidden military base on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Lena's task force began their preparations. They were equipped with the most advanced combat suits, capable of evading the Empire's radar, and energy weapons upgraded to counter the enemy's shields. In the tactical briefing room, Lena addressed her team of 12 elite warriors. Our mission isn't to survive. It's to send a message. If necessary, we'll fight to the last breath to show that humanity will never bow. Each team member nodded, their eyes devoid of hesitation. The Vanguard, a sleek stealth ship, activated in near silence. Standing on its deck, Lena gazed out the window at Earth. The blue planet shone brightly against the void, a poignant reminder of why they were fighting. The Empire thinks they can make us kneel, Lena whispered. But they're wrong. The ship launched quietly from its platform, speeding into the vastness of space at faster-than-light velocity, carrying humanity's hopes with it. In the silent void of space, the stealth ship Vanguard glided quietly. Lena and her 12-person strike team stood in the preparation bay, illuminated by the crimson glow of the combat lights. Beneath their enhanced armor, each individual was a warrior forged through hundreds of hours of training to become humanity's finest. We're approaching Hades II, the pilot announced through the intercom, their voice steady but tense. Hades II, the capital planet of the Empire, loomed on the tactical display like a dark jewel glimmering in the void. Surrounded by massive warships and densely packed defensive satellites, it was an impregnable fortress. Lena pointed at a three-dimensional schematic displayed on the hollow screen. We'll approach from the southern pole, where defenses are weakest. Then, we'll use the stealth system to infiltrate the Colosseum. Kellen, the team's engineer, added, I've encoded a signal to disrupt the Empire's radar. But we'll only have one shot. If we're detected, there's no way out. The team nodded in unison, their silence not of fear but of unwavering focus. As the ship entered the atmosphere, the strike team prepared to perform a low-altitude jump to avoid radar detection. Lena signaled with her hand, and one by one, the team leaped from the bay, descending like shadows toward the surface. Outside the Colosseum, the glow of the execution ceremony illuminated the night sky. The roaring crowd's cheers reverberated across the planet. Lena led the team to a concealed access tunnel beneath the grandstands. The Empire's defenses were designed to repel large-scale assaults, never imagining a small, determined unit would dare infiltrate. Inside the Colosseum, thousands of alien spectators roared in approval, cheering for the blood-soaked spectacle. 50,000 humans were shackled, awaiting their grim fate. Through her visor, Lena's eyes darkened as she saw the fear etched on her people's faces. "Get ready," Lena whispered over the comms. At her signal, the strike team unleashed a barrage of energy bolts, bright green streaks cutting through the Empire's guards like a hot blade through butter. Lena charged ahead, her plasma rifle dispatching guards with precision. The team dispersed swiftly, their enhanced suits allowing them to move 3 times faster than an ordinary human. Lena reached the central area, where the prisoners sat, their eyes filled with despair. An older man shielded a young girl from the chaos, but hope flickered in his gaze when he saw Lena. "We're here to save you," Lena shouted, her voice amplified by her helmet's speakers. She quickly cut through their restraints with her plasma blade. Her team followed suit, freeing rows of captives. Amid the chaos, Lena spotted a small girl clinging tightly to her mother, tears streaking her face. Without hesitation, Lena scooped up the child and guided the mother to safety. "No one gets left behind," she bellowed, her voice brimming with resolve. But not everything went smoothly. As the Empire realized the infiltration, their warships began bombarding the Colosseum. Crimson beams of energy rained down, obliterating nearby structures. "Kellen, activate the disruption signal now," Lena commanded. Kellen swiftly deployed the signal disruptor, jamming the Empire's radar systems. They knew, however, that their time was running out. "Our ships are en route," another team member informed. "Get everyone to the extraction point," Lena ordered, her gaze fixed on the blazing main gate. As the last prisoners were loaded onto the rescue ships, a massive explosion rocked the Colosseum. Jonas, a member of the strike team, had stayed behind to detonate an EMP bomb, disabling the Empire's entire defense grid. "Go!" Jonas shouted over the comms, his voice drowned by the eruption. Gritting her teeth, Lena watched Jonas's silhouette one last time as their ship lifted off, carrying 50,000 survivors to safety. On the ship's deck, Lena sat down, cradling the rescued girl in her arms. The child looked up at her, tears still glistening but now tinged with hope. "We did it," Lena whispered. Yet, deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, millions of screens flickered and went dark, leaving an eerie silence where the cheers of Empire supporters once resounded. The central broadcasting station on Hades II, a symbol of the Empire's propaganda power, now lay in fiery ruins. The events before the signal was cut left a lasting impression on all who witnessed them, the image of human warriors braving peril to rescue their kin. On the planet Turkan, where the Orani species toiled endlessly in mines, a group of miners stood silently before the blank screen. Their once downtrodden gazes now bore the faint spark of hope. Humans dared to rise, one whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. On the aquatic world of Aquaries, where the underwater inhabitants had suffered near extinction under the Empire's oppression, whispers flowed through the ocean currents. An elder leader declared, "They have shown us that the Empire is not invincible." Throughout the galaxy, the tale of humanity's daring rescue began to spread. Quiet murmurs turned into animated discussions. From the oppressed to the shadowy factions opposing the Empire, one realization dawned on all: this was a turning point. Aboard the Vanguard, Lena stood before a monitor displaying images of the reactor on Hades II engulfed in flames. Her team had succeeded in detonating the energy core of the broadcasting station, crippling the communications hub at the heart of the Empire's power. But the cost had been steep. Jonas had sacrificed himself. Lena clenched her fists, grief etched across her face. Jonas knew we had no other choice, Kellen said, trying to console her. He also knew this would change everything. Lena took a deep breath, her eyes regaining their familiar determination. Yes. But our work is far from over. The information we retrieved from the station is more important than anything. We must decode it immediately. The data Lena and her team brought back contained detailed plans of the Empire's military and political operations. But one file stood out, a map of planets where the Empire secretly imprisoned millions of beings from past conquests. We can use this information to rally support, Lena said during a secret Earth Resistance Council meeting. We're not just fighting for humanity. This is a battle for all oppressed species. Admiral Tiberius Khan nodded. If we can coordinate with other underground forces across the galaxy, the Empire won't be able to extinguish this rebellion. At the Empire's command center on Hades II, chaos reigned. Imperial generals argued heatedly as Supreme Consul Tharion, the highest authority, sat silently observing. His cold expression revealed nothing, but his eyes burned with menace. Who is responsible for this? Tharion demanded, his voice low yet commanding. A human strike team, sir, a commander reported. They not only destroyed the broadcasting station but also stole classified data. Tharion smirked, a chillingly cold gesture. Do they think they can destabilize the Empire? Increase the hunt across the galaxy. Any planet showing signs of rebellion must be eradicated immediately. Tharion's orders were swiftly executed, unleashing bloody crackdowns across the galaxy. Yet, with each planet ravaged, the tale of humanity's courage spread farther, igniting an unstoppable fire. On Earth, signals from across the galaxy began pouring in. A crew from Aquaries defied blockades to reach Earth, carrying a plea for alliance from the ocean depths. We're ready to fight. But we need weapons, we need plans, an Aquaries leader told Lena. From Turkin, miners sent a message through a clandestine network, we've seized control of the mines. The first shipments of weapons are on their way. Earth's secret base became a bustling hub of activity. Bold strategies were devised. Warriors from various species began to converge, united by a shared determination to overthrow the Empire. Lena stood in the command center, her gaze steady and unyielding. This is only the beginning, she said, her voice echoing throughout the room. We're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to reclaim freedom. And from the darkest corners of the galaxy, the flames of resistance began to blaze, heralding a fierce yet hopeful war on the horizon. In the underground conference room of the United Earth Council, a heavy atmosphere loomed as analysts focused on the large screen displaying data from the Empire's transmission stations. Lines of code and strategic maps revealed the enemy's horrifying plans. One chart stood out, detailing the schedule for the next series of attacks targeting Earth and other planets in the galaxy. President Illyra Hayes stood at the head of the table, her face resolute but betraying a trace of worry. Lena Solis, still clad in her combat armor, stepped forward and pointed to a spot on the screen. This isn't just a series of executions, Lena said, her voice firm. This is the beginning of a campaign to annihilate humanity. They don't want to dominate us, they want to wipe us out of existence in the galaxy. The murmurs in the room gradually subsided. All eyes turned to Lena, who had become a symbol of resistance. We can't wait any longer, she continued. The recent rescue was not our final victory but only the first step. This is the time for us to act not just for ourselves, but for everyone oppressed by the Empire. This is our chance to end their tyranny. Under the leadership of Lena and President Hayes, a large-scale resistance campaign began to take shape. Scientists and engineers on Earth worked tirelessly to upgrade weapons and technology. A team of strategists, including Admiral Tiberius Khan and other top commanders, devised plans to coordinate with rebellion movements across the galaxy. "We need more than just brave people," Admiral Khan said during a meeting. "We need allies. If other species see a real chance to overthrow the Empire, they will join us." Lena agreed. She took on the mission to lead a delegation to oppressed planets to rally support. Lena's first stop was the planet Turkan, where the Orani miners had already begun resisting. As her ship landed, Lena was greeted by a group of Orani fighters, their bodies scarred but their eyes burning with hope. "We've heard about you," said an Orani leader. "We're ready to fight, but we lack weapons." "We'll provide what you need," Lena replied firmly. "But we need you to keep the flame of resistance alive and spread it further." Next, she visited Aquaris, where the underwater inhabitants were planning attacks on the Empire's infrastructure. The leaders there, though cautious, also agreed to join the alliance. "We've been waiting for this day for a long time," said an Aquarian leader. "But we need assurance that you can truly defeat them." "We won't just defeat them," Lena responded, her gaze unwavering. "We'll obliterate them." Meanwhile, the Empire was far from idle. After the destruction of their transmission station, the Empire's security forces intensified control across all colonial planets. The crackdowns became more brutal but only fueled the growing dissatisfaction. On Hades II, Governor Therion summoned his top generals. "The Earthlings have proven they're no longer a minor nuisance," Therion said, his voice cold and deep. "We must crush them before this rebellion spreads." Therion ordered the mobilization of a massive fleet aimed at Earth and the planets showing signs of uprising. On Earth, millions joined the war effort. Young people enlisted in droves, factories operated non-stop to produce weapons, and scientists developed groundbreaking innovations to counter the Empire's advanced technology. In a rousing speech at the command center, President Hayes addressed a crowd of soldiers and civilians. "They think we're weak. They think we'll submit. But they're wrong. We're not just fighting to protect Earth. We're fighting to reclaim freedom for every planet in the galaxy." Her words were met with resounding cheers. The combination of Lena's diplomatic efforts and the bold military actions of special forces created an unprecedented wave of resistance. Across the galaxy, isolated uprisings began to merge into a unified movement. From Turkan to Aquaris, from remote space stations to the Empire's central planets, the flame of rebellion burned brightly. Messages from Earth became a rallying cry, calling on all those oppressed by the Empire to rise up. "We may not have the advanced technology they do," Lena said during a meeting with resistance leaders. "But we have something stronger, our willpower. And willpower is more powerful than any weapon." With each passing day, the unity among species and resistance movements grew stronger, sowing the seeds for an inevitable war. The galaxy was changing, and the Empire was beginning to realize that this time, their enemy would not be easily subdued. Across the planets, from the arid deserts of Aridus Prime to the lush rainforests of Silvara IV, the flames of rebellion burned fiercely. The Empire, once deemed unshakable, began to crack as even the smallest planets dared to rise against its oppressive rule. At a broadcasting station on the central planet Nova Prime, a young Kirill warrior transmitted an urgent message across the galaxy. "We are no longer afraid. Lena and humanity have shown us that the Empire is not invincible. Rise up, fight for your freedom." This message spread rapidly, becoming the rallying cry of the uprising. Lena and her team, now living symbols of the resistance, continued to lead daring campaigns. The data gathered from the previous chapter's mission provided insights into the Empire's weaknesses. "The Empire thrives on the central planets supplying resources and soldiers," Lena declared during a strategy meeting. "If we target these planets, the Empire will begin to crumble." Her team launched a large-scale campaign to disrupt critical supply lines. One key battle took place on Velon 3, where they destroyed a massive space train transporting plutonium, an essential resource for the Empire's weapons. During this battle, Lena faced off against Colonel Vexar, an Imperial commander who ambushed her team with a small fleet. "Do you think a few scattered rebellions can topple the Empire?" Vexar roared over the communication channel. "Not just a few rebellions," Lena retorted, her eyes gleaming. "This is the beginning of the end." Using clever tactics, Lena's team not only obliterated the train but also forced Vexar's fleet to retreat. On Aquaris, native inhabitants began sinking Imperial bases into the deep seas, rendering them inaccessible. On Aridus Prime, nomadic warriors used desert storms as natural cover to ambush Imperial patrols. The story of Lena and her team spread like wildfire, inspiring not just hope but action among oppressed species. On Malgor, a rebellion led by children dismantled the central prison, freeing hundreds of detainees held for resisting the Empire. A 14-year-old boy named Ryler, after rescuing his mother, tearfully proclaimed, "Humans didn't just save us. They gave us a reason to fight." In the Empire's council chambers on Hades II, Grand Chancellor Therion glared at the screen displaying continuous reports of uprisings. "This is your failure," Therion barked at his generals, his voice seething with anger. "We allowed humanity to slip out of control. Now, they've become a true threat." The Empire swiftly launched a brutal crackdown. Rebellious planets were razed, cities flattened, and millions executed publicly. However, this brutality only fueled the flames of rebellion. Back on Earth, Lena convened with the Council to assess the situation. A massive map displayed the growing regions of revolt, alongside planets overwhelmed by Imperial suppression. "We need to send aid to the planets in danger," Lena insisted. "We don't have the resources," Admiral Khan replied. "We don't need to supply everything," Lena countered. "Sometimes, even a small spark of hope can make a difference." Under her leadership, Earth organized a series of relief missions, delivering food, medicine, and weapons to the rebelling planets. In a live broadcast from Earth, President Hayes addressed the galaxy. She stood before a large banner inscribed with "Freedom for All" in multiple languages. "The Empire wants us to believe we are weak, that we cannot prevail. But they've forgotten one thing: whether human or any other species, we all share one truth, our yearning for freedom." Her speech reverberated across the galaxy, inspiring millions more to join the cause. Meanwhile, Lena stood with her team on the command bridge of the starship Aurora. Together, they gazed out at the vast universe, where countless stars shimmered like promises of a brighter tomorrow. "This is just the beginning," Lena declared, her voice resolute. "We won't stop until the Empire falls." With each passing day, the resistance grew stronger, and the Empire, once the symbol of unyielding dominance, began to feel the weight of its impending collapse.